Hello everyone and welcome back to GodSaw's Turnbuckle, and we are back once again for some more predictions over here on the channel, and we are going to be going with WWE's Evolution 2. Yes, they are finally doing another all-women's pay-per-view after the first one they did back in 2018. As of right now, we do have 7 matches on the card. I don't expect them to add any more. Matter of fact, with how they typically go with PLEs recently, this is 2 more matches than we usually get. They usually go with 5 matches, so we're getting a little bit more for this one. And basically, I do feel like this is going to be a pretty good card. I know some things did get messed up in terms of, with Liv Morgan unfortunately getting injured, so it did change up some things. But honestly, I feel like they're giving you a pretty good card here, and it should be actually a relatively good show. And up first, we are going to go with the Battle Royal. Now, the winner of this Battle Royal will be getting a championship match at Clash of Paris. And it's going to be a relatively interesting card to see, or basically interesting to see who will be in this particular match. Are we going to be getting any returns? I know they have announced Nikki Bella being inside there. Stephanie Valkeria is going to be in the match as well. You do have at least 6 people from NXT. Are you going to get anybody from TNA showing up in this particular match as well? That is always a possibility to go along with it because of the because of the working relationship primarily with NXT and TNA. But I guess they could end up showing up in this one because we do have a decent amount of NXT to go along with this. Now, in terms of everything here, I do really feel like the 2 main people for winning this match would be either Stephanie Valkeria or Nikki Bella, and maybe even comes down to the both of them. In this particular case, I'm going to go with Stephanie Valkeria to pick up the victory on this one and get a title match for Clash at Paris. Or Clash in Paris. So I do feel like that's going to be the case, though I wouldn't be shocked if they put that title on Nikki Bella, because it did, or not the title, but give the win to Nikki Bella and get her a title match down the line, because I do feel like that they were looking to do a little bit more with her with the whole Liv Morgan thing, but that didn't end up working out. So they may actually give it to Nikki, but I think it's going to be Stephanie Valkeria picking up the victory here. And up next is going to be a fatal 4-way for the Women's Tag Team Championships. It's Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez going up against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, going up against Zarya and Sol Ruka versus the Kabuki Warriors, Kairi Sane and Asuka. Now, a lot of this does feel like, again, has been thrown together. And I feel like that's because of the whole aspect of Liv Morgan getting injured in this one as well. That is a good possibility with that. I don't necessarily know what their initial plan was. I think that it could have been the initial plan of it being Raquel and Liv going up against the Bella Twins. I don't necessarily know. We'll see, but we'll see how this match ends out playing out in general, because honestly, I feel like this is going to be a really good match. Zarya and Sol Ruka have been teaming up for a decent amount of time down in NXT. We obviously know everything with Kairi Sane and Asuka, and now you do have Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss kind of beginning to team up. And now I don't feel like they're going to be the ones picking up the victory in this one. And honestly, in the terms of the Judgment Day stuff, I do feel like Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez will probably be picking up the victory, and that's going to be my pick for this one, because it just makes it feel like a more interesting dynamic for when Liv Morgan comes back. If they are still doing stuff with the tag team titles or everything in that particular sense. So it does play off of that dynamic a little bit more. So I'm going to go with Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. And up next, we have the NXT Women's Championship match. It will be Jacy Jayne going up against Jordynne Grace. Now, both of these two will be in a match the day before at the Great American Bash, which is going to be happening like right as All In is happening. So I think a lot may play off of what happens in that particular match, because it's going to be a tag team match between Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley going up against Jordynne Grace and the former Mariah May, Blake Monroe. So that'll probably play a bit of a role in what happens here. I do feel like in this particular match, especially with what they're going to be doing at TNA Slammiversary with Masha Slamovich, I feel like Jordynne Grace will be picking up the victory here and will be getting the NXT Women's Championship, and will end up going up against Masha Slamovich over at TNA's Slammiversary, where they're going to have a title for title match. So I do feel like that's going to be the case. So I am going to go with Jordynne Grace in this one. And up next is going to be for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. It will be Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra Valkeria. Now, the setup for this match has actually been really good. You've had that storyline between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkeria that's been going on for a few pay-per-views at this point in time. And of course, you're adding Bayley in there because Becky Lynch ended up attacking Bayley and taking her out of the tag team match at WrestleMania. And of course, she has now come back going after Becky Lynch, but also based off of what's been going on, now she's going after Lyra Valkeria as well, with everything. So you have a pretty interesting dynamic for a triple threat match. In terms of how I feel like everything's going to go, you have Bayley and Lyra Valkeria, who are kind of fighting each other for the most part at this point in time. I do feel like they're going to cancel each other out in this one. I am going to be picking Becky Lynch for this, but honestly, you could probably see either three of them picking up the victory in this particular match, and I feel like anybody would be okay with it at that point, but I'm going to go with Becky Lynch in this one. And up next, we have a no-holds-barred match. It's going to be Jade Cargill going up against Naomi. Now, again, they just added this being a no-holds-barred match, which makes it actually a little bit more interesting than their WrestleMania match was at that point in time, because who knows where they're going to necessarily go with everything. It does kind of give them a little bit more free reign to do a few other things in this match, instead of just having your typical one-on-one match for this. Now, there is one dynamic that I find interesting, and I guess it has the potential of showing up in here as well. Does Bianca Belair come back at all during this match, and who does she help? I don't necessarily know that's going to be the case, and I don't the case in this particular match, but it is a dynamic that could be out there, and I don't feel like I'd be changing my pick on this one as well. Even though Jade Cargill is going into SummerSlam with a WWE Women's Championship match for herself, I feel like Naomi picks up the victory on this one, because it's probably going to play off the whole aspect that she has the money in the bank at this point in time, and can end up using that at any sorry, stumbling over my words there, but can end up using that at any given point. And honestly, it just feels like they may want to give Naomi a bigger victory on this one, especially with the factor that you had Jade picking up the victory at WrestleMania, kind of giving them a 1-1 dynamic at that point. So I'm going to go with Naomi for this. And up next is for the WWE Women's Championship. It's going to be Tiffany Stratton going up against Trish Stratus. Honestly, basically with the two world title matches here, both champions got to pick their own opponents with this one. Tiffany went with Trish Stratus for this. It's nice to get another legend onto this card for everything. And honestly, Trish has still been putting on some pretty good matches to go along with it when she is out there. Now, I do not feel like they're going to be putting that title on Trish at this point in time. So I am going to go with Tiffany Stratton to pick up the victory, though I do feel like you could get a pretty good match out of this one. And up next, we have what I feel like is going to be the main event of the evening. It's going to be for the Women's World Championship. It is going to be Iyo Sky going up against Rhea Ripley. Now, they have been playing off this whole dynamic that Rhea Ripley has not been able to beat Iyo Sky once down in NXT, main roster, anywhere for that. Now, does that play a role, and does Iyo Sky pick up the victory in this one and keep that going, and maybe they bring something into SummerSlam? I do feel like this is still a possibility to be the program going into SummerSlam as well, but I do see one of those world titles changing in this case. and this is going to be that one. I'm going to pick Rhea Ripley to pick up the victory on this one and finally, actually get a win over Iyo Sky. I don't necessarily know if that's the way that I would really go with it, especially with how they've been using Iyo since WrestleMania. But I just have that feeling that they're going to go with Rhea Ripley on this one. So that's going to end up being my pick for this particular match. Now, that is all the matches that we have for Evolution at this point. I don't know if they're going to add anything else, or do they even do a pre-show match or anything to go along with it. I don't necessarily know. But if you have your own predictions for Evolution, feel free to leave them down and comment below. And also like and subscribe if you so wish as well. And with that being said, I hope you all take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great rest of your day.